the recording. You see a picture of our president on. She is with us, and she may be on the phone, but she's actually traveling to the NAACP convention, the state convention, which is this week. So I have an excused absence to be in Fort Lauderdale to monitor things. Mr. Weeks sent me a text message. He's feeling under the weather, and so therefore he may or may not join us. So I've not heard from Mr. Walters. You know, he always joins us by phone. So this may just be an informational if I don't get a quorum here, but I don't want to keep you all on because I do respect your time. Well, some of you, I respect your time. Mr. Obel has nothing to do but come up with tropes and gifts and emojis, talking about my Dolphins, but they won Sunday. So,
Yeah, for now.
A win is a win. I don't care if it's only 1 point. A win is a win. Okay.
That's true.
But I don't see any more 40-point wins coming in somebody's future, though. Get it out. Get it. Just spit it out, Mr. Obel. Just get it out.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say, the bowl look bright in our future. The bowl look bright in our future.
It's just one game. It's just one game. And look, they are not coached by Coach Prime. Okay.
Well, listen, I would say I'm a Hurricanes fan, but I'm supporting that brother. I'm rooting for him, man. I'm really him.
Yeah, it's remarkable, but that's what it is about leadership. Is if you can make people that you're leading feel that they are great to accomplish things, then you have really done your job. So a friend of mine sent me a text that leaders are not supposed to make followers; they're supposed to make other leaders. So. Always remember those of you in supervisory and leadership capacity. Yes, Judge Mabolo, you got your hand up.
Judge, I just wanted to ask Mr. Obel, when is the last time that team from Texas won a Super Bowl?
Wait, Judge. With all respect.
It's about to get ugly in here.
What is your team, Judge? What is your team?
The New York Giants and the Dolphins.
I think we got more rings than you all.
I'm not so sure about that. We got 4.
Well, I tell you, this is going to be an interesting cab for the rest of the year. I will tell you that. Well, look, we don't have a quorum, but look, I'd like to, we can at least turn this into a workshop and just discuss some things that are really pressing. So if you still follow the norms and we don't have a quorum to adopt the minutes from the last meeting. And so when we do get a quorum, I know what I'm looking for, then we can certainly move along with the business of the cab. But I recently, maybe was it 2 weeks ago or a week ago, I attended that town hall meeting with regard to the school board. And really, really interesting. The representative for the superintendent who was unable to attend, he was at another function, but the representative there, his favorite line was, "I just got here." Yeah. And I wanted to tell him what some of the federal judges would say when you say, "This is not my case, I'm covering for somebody." When you on the panel, you represent. But so we made, not we in the audience, but President Ellison was on the panel along with Dr. Osgood, Representative Darrell Campbell. I forget the man's name from the school board. He's from the Belgrade area, he was telling us. And so he just recently moved here. But it was, and Mr. Weeks, he also was on the panel. And so some interesting things are happening with the matrix for punishment. Promise, again, is on the chopping block. And that promise, when I say that, I mean the promise programs on the chopping block. So I've been trying to, along with Madam President Ellison, meet with Mr. Licata to get an idea of where he's going. If you get rid of a promising program, no pun intended, and you don't replace it with anything else, then everybody's going to jail. All the kids are going to jail. You know, we had an incident to happen yesterday. I pray that the teacher is okay. Ms. Michelle, I know you can't talk about it because that may appear before you. Judge Rabola, I'm certainly understanding you can't mention, you can't say anything. But, you know, I think that that's a prime case that underscores the need for a juvenile mental health court. Just because he's a certain age and weight doesn't mean he's not thinking as a juvenile. So we pray for the best outcome, and we'll see what happens. I don't have the disciplinary committee report because the disciplinary committee is not meeting for the school board. Most of those meetings were canceled until further notice. So once they're back up, you'll hear from President Ellison, and she'll fill you in on what's going on with that. I don't know if Mr. James is present to speak for the data work group. That's the most important thing that we've been trying to work on. So John James, if you're, anybody see him on the participant side? I know we got a lot of attendees, so let me see if I see John James, because I would love to hear what the committee is doing.
We haven't actually met.
You haven't met? Okay.
No, we haven't had a meeting this summer. We have our school district representative did provide further data, but we haven't had a formal meeting on the last data that she had looked for.
Because Ms. Butterfield is on the attendee side, so she, at the last meeting, she said she was going to get that information that you all requested.
She did.
Okay.
But we haven't, she's waiting for us to formulate a meeting, but the other stakeholders haven't really responded. So I'm waiting to see when they want to do a further meeting, but we haven't scheduled one. So just so you know.
Okay. Well, I see Ms. Gaynor's hand up. I'm going to get her over on the, I'm going to bring her over. And remember the last time we had a meeting and I had to do the technology, I thought somebody was going to bring up a motion that I never handled the technology again. So I'm trying to find you, Tamika. I don't see you on the attendee side. Let me see if I can bring you up. Right, there you go. All right, Ms. Gaynor, can you turn your camera on?
Is it not on?
Yeah, hold on a second. It should be on now. You should be able to turn it on. I just made you a panelist.
I am, and now, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you turn your,
I think it should be on shortly.
There you go, bingo. I'm learning. Okay. So Ms. O'Bell, do I get an A?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Gaynor, tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I was actually gonna provide the same information Ms. Marcella did. We did get some additional information, but since receiving that information, we haven't had an opportunity to meet.
All right. Do you think in our October meeting, you all, because I had scheduled you 30 minutes, but I'll give you as much time as you all think you need, because we've been sort of like sitting with waiting with bated breath to hear what you come up with in terms of statistics and what's going on. And is that the same for civil citation? Did you get any reports on that?
Well, I have the civil citation reports. I have our monthly civil citation report, and there were 18 new youth who were referred in August. 7 female, 11 male. Most of those youth, 63% are Black, and we had 90% of the youth who completed in August were successful, and then we had 10% who were unsuccessful. We had youth referred. There were 2 parent declines, and there were 2 second opportunities for civil citation in the month of August.
And when you say the second, is that where Ms. Marcella's office flags it and sends it back?
So the second opportunity, when I report that, that's for the youth who have already completed a civil citation and came back around for a second time. And it'll be the same for the third opportunity, but we rarely have third opportunities. So in August, we had 2 second opportunities. And what you're referring to is the state attorney office. We have them listed as a referring agency since they're kicking them back to us. And in the month of August, they sent over 5 referrals.
Okay. But I'll come back to that because I want to ask for specifics about the usual suspects. I think Coconut Creek is always on our radar as not using the civil citation, and that's a problem because they need to tell the state attorney's office why they're not using it. They either can come up with their own, or they have to use the program that's been promulgated and signed off on by the 17th. And I think that's something in the statute. I was going to talk with Senator Osgood about changing that statute. You know, if you give people a choice, but they don't comply with the choice you give them, so they're just operating in their own little fiefdom over there in Coconut Creek. But let me backtrack because we talked about so many other things. We were discussing alternatives. So let me go back to that, and then I'll come back to you, Ms. Gaynor, for specifics on the missed opportunities. Colonel Holmes and Mr. Obel were working on coming up with alternatives to sending youth to DJJ programs, only because DJJ programs enter the children into computers. And even though the child has done nothing wrong, not violated any disciplinary rule or any statute, because it's their money, it's DJJ money, state money, but it's actually taxpayer dollars that funneled in there. Any child that's in a DJJ program, their name gets put in a computer, and law enforcement has access to the information in the computer. And so that just circumvents, in my mind, and Colonel Holmes, you can tell me about the terminology. When an officer just stops somebody on the street and asks their name and information, that's a field. They fill out a field card. And that's just for future reference. So if something goes wrong, they say, oh, well, let's check this person out, even though the person has done no wrong. Mr. Obel, tell me what's going on. I know Deerfield started a program and that you were very involved with what they're doing. So can you bring me up to speed, or bring the board up to speed as to what's going on?
As of right now, Deerfield have made some referrals to our Healing Space team that have been in contact with those families. And so that process have kicked off and is starting to go in the right direction. I do know that I think was waiting for Mr. Weeks, someone from Mr. Weeks' office to join our meeting, and as well as, I know Gloria responded, and I know Mr. Holmes, Colonel Holmes was out of town and Mr. Bush was out. So we're trying to reschedule that meeting so we can launch the central area. And I know we sent out a doodle, Fabiola, one of our community, from one of our community partners, Handy, sent out a doodle for us to schedule, and everybody received that doodle that's on this screen. They just have to complete it. The only thing is, And once we have that, we'll be moving in the right direction because we'll get a chance to meet. And I do want to say, I know Madam President Ellison invited us to the last Wednesday of the month with Fort Lauderdale Police Community Meeting. And so I will have a representative there to attend. So we're moving in the right direction. Deerfield have picked up already. There's some positive progress being made there with our Healing Space folks. And we're finding deeper issues that's the root cause, right? So and I think that's those opportunities, those nuances that we often miss out because we're so busy. No point intent, no, I'm not trying to be intentional when I say what I say next to be hurtful, but we get so caught up in making arrests or laying down the law that we miss out the root cause that's really impacting our families. And so already we're seeing some of the root causes and we're addressing some of those root causes. And so that's what we're looking forward to do here in Central Broward, and hopefully at some point we'll launch a South Broward. But we need to get through Central, and I just need the parties on this screen just to have some folks at this meeting on Monday or Tuesday.
Yes, Mr. O'Bell, and just to add to that, I was able to complete the doodle form earlier today, so I will be available for that meeting. And I can't thank you enough for taking the lead on this. I could tell you this, our Deerfield Beach District is very, very excited with participating and making changes and approach of how we deal with these difficult situations. I think it's going to work out well in the long run, and I think it's going to set the bar high and give the blueprint for other districts to follow by. They're very enthusiastic about working with you and your group and making this happen. So we're spread it around. Once we get it going, I see great things ahead for sure.
And Madam Chair, I just want to stress this again. I mean, we are able to help folks with rent support. And so, like, oftentimes kids, I don't have no problem sharing this because it's a lived experience, and that's what helps us to do the work we do great because of those lived experiences. Oftentimes, I had brothers who made poor decisions, and because we had certain hardships, and it forces folks to go out and make terrible decisions that they make as a child, and they learn from it as an adult, and they see the impact of it. A lot of these families are just faced with concrete challenges. And when we're able to support them in those challenges, we can see a different outcome. We can see more family engagement, more family activities. I mean, think about those mothers and fathers who are able to attend these sports games. They don't have to work this low end job because we're trying to help them get a better quality job. And I'll share this story real quick from one of our kinship services. 7 kids. We got her in the secure houses. She's away from her abuser, and on top of that, she's now a nurse. Can you all still hear me?
I can hear you.
She's now a nurse and making $75,000 a year, and she got 7 kids, and she was in an abusive relationship. But these are kind of the stories that we are producing, where we get down to the root cause of what's going on through the child and through the family. And so we're not just trying to serve the child himself, but we're trying to serve the family. And I'm happy about our partners in that Child and Children Service Council. But again, if we don't do these kind of robust programs, we can't have these kind of outcomes that we're talking about.
Well, I agree with you. And let me ask you, how many of those children are put into a computer for future reference?
None.
Okay. So it can be done.
It can be done.
Okay.
None.
All right.
And again, that's because us as board members here and the leadership of you, Madam Chair, and Ms. Ellison and our community partners with Child and Children Service Council, we are able to make these difference. But again, none of the kids go into this system, and we're having a good outcome with it. So just can't stress that enough.
All right. Well, please keep us posted, and then, between you and Colonel Holmes, if you can find us someplace that's or a program or how we can reach down into the central part. We need to get into Pompano and and Lauderdale Lakes. So Deerfield's a good start. That's my home city. And I'm proud that it is in Deerfield, but we need to start coming a little bit south where there's a problem. Lauderdale has a problem. Lauderdale Lakes has some issues.
And,
So,
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
just to your point about Lauderhill, actually the vice mayor of Lauderhill met with us regarding this kind of program and is looking to launch something there. And I told him what the board is doing, the approach we're taking. So there's eyes already looking at what we're doing.
okay.
So
Now I don't want you to dilute your efforts in Deerfield.
this is some kind of under the radar.
You're freezing up, Miss Obel. Maybe that's how the Dallas Cowboys was able to win. You gave them your internet money.
No, I got
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Judge Rabolo, I'm on your side on this one. I'm sorry, I got to get my digs in when I can.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Bush.
I received an email text from Fort Lauderdale PD. Detective Ralph Boyette is sitting in for Major London.
Okay. Ralph Boyette. Okay, I'm gonna bring him out on. Okay. And if you are covering for someone because we don't have a quorum and Mr. Boyette is not going to be able to have the same voting rights as Major London, but I'll bring him on. It's BOY. Mr. Bush?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got it. Ralph Boyette. Okay. And that should work. Mr. Boyette, Major Boyette, I don't want to call you out of your title. Hi, can you hear us? I think you're on mute still.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can. I'm having problems. Unfortunately, we're working remotely, and I'm gonna blame it on the internet, I guess.
You can blame it on the Dallas Cowboys if you want to.
And I'm gonna do that because I don't know who's a Dallas Cowboy fan there.
That would be board member, Mr. Obel.
Oh, okay. But at least I can hear, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear me with no issues.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Obel, can we include the Fort Lauderdale Police Department in your endeavors as you come south, as you move south?
Yes, and I think that's the goal with using handy location. I had a conversation with President Ellison about it. And so I think we should, and we also have a relationship with West Park, the city of West Park. We have a relationship with the mayor there, and so we're looking forward to when the time comes with Colonel Holmes' support to launch it on the west side as well. But in the meantime, is just really trying to push through to make this work. But we're ready. I can tell you right now for Fort Lauderdale, as soon as we get this doodle meeting happen next week, we'll get a chance to get Fort Lauderdale going. I can assure you of that.
If I can interject here for a second.
Yes.
So I actually met with Mr. Tebus Bush last Friday. I have actually a relationship with him that goes back over 10 years before he got the position he's got now. And the reason for that is because we have actually worked together in the past. And I wanted to bring that back where we can start doing the things that we were doing back in the day. Unfortunately, between COVID and everything else, as you all know, a lot of things stopped. And, the meeting with him was about, bringing those things back. He's on board, and it's a matter of just kind of like getting together bringing in people from my command staff into it so they can approve the things that we want to do. And
Mr. Boyer, let me interrupt you. Let me tell you what
Sure.
the problem is that this board has with that.
okay,
Mr. Bush works for Department of Juvenile Justice, and that's fine.
Right.
He's not a board member, but he's a liaison to this board, being a
Okay.
chief probation officer. The problem that we are trying to solve is that whenever a child who has not committed any type of disciplinary infraction, hasn't broken the law, but their parents work for a living, okay? And so therefore, they want to put them in like an after-school program or something so that they don't get in trouble. They want them to play, flag football or basketball or, do some reading or artwork. If it is a DJJ program, the children are entered into a computer, which is accessed and accessible by law enforcement. And so I'm trying to solve that problem of having our children branded and labeled, and they've not done anything. I understand that if the child is referred by the court or is in any type of diversion program, yeah, their name's going to have to go into a computer. But not all law enforcement has the right intentions. And it's just easier to get jail labor to do things by just inputting our children into computers. We're trying to avoid that at all costs. Yes, we are working, and I applaud some of DJJ's programs, but to the extent that a child has not done anything, and we're just trying to come up with alternatives for them being placed in a computer. And most judges, I can't speak for all of them, but most judges frown on those field interrogation cards that you just walk up to somebody, stop them, and get all their information, and you just put it. So if a crime occurs, at least you got somebody to point the finger to until you can get your investigation done. And some investigations aren't even done. They just automatically point to the person that they have the field interrogation card on. I'm happy to say that BSO has been on the cutting edge, leading edge of progressiveness in trying to avoid that and helping us. They've got a pot of money that they use for programming, and they don't input these children into a computer because they've done nothing wrong. There's no reason for them to be in law enforcement computers. So to the extent that we can get Fort Lauderdale to help, and you can use Colonel Holmes as your model. He'll tell you what they're doing and how they're doing it, but BSO doesn't cover all 31 municipalities in Broward County. So we've got to reach out and get help from the others. But with you working with Mr. Bush does not help what this board is trying to do. And that's the point. I have to bluntly say that because I'm getting tired of our children, Black and brown children, getting put in computers when they're good kids. They've done nothing. So can you all think of something out the box? I don't expect Mr. Bush to do that. That's his job to get my children in those computers. But
no,
my
but
job,
absolutely.
I'm teasing you, Mr. Bush. It's my job to make sure that they don't get in there for any other reason other than the fact that they may have been delinquent or committed a delinquent act. So
I understand perfectly.
Okay.
I understand perfectly. It's funny that you're saying that because I came in late into the meeting, but one of the things that we talked about was a program that we had through the police department that was a juvenile lecture where we used to bring in convicted felons, people that had been incarcerated for heinous crimes. I'm talking about from homicide all the way down to whatever you can think of, and they became speakers. They became speakers in my program, and that was something that I wanted to revamp. It's something that we did at the time. We had Maria Schneider. She will come in and speak to as the consequences of doing certain things. I will speak to them too in reference to the things that they will have to stay away from that will get them in trouble. And then we will put on the speakers to explain how life inside of, either a juvenile detention center or prison is. So kind of like a scare tactic to let them know the things that happens in there. I don't really have statistics on, a percentage of, the the kids that we were able to reach doing this. But I know that the parents at least will come up to me or email me after the fact, days after, telling me my kid is doing better, or they were looking at things differently. So I believe that there were certain good stories that came out of that. Obviously, there's things that we have to do as a police department. We do have responsibilities, but we're not looking into doing things outside of what's already in the system, like kids that are on probation, or they have sanctions like curfews and detention.
We've already addressed that, Mr. Boyette.
Okay, so I came in late.
But these are kids that their parents work. They don't want them home alone.
No,
what
I hear you.
programs can Fort Lauderdale offer? That's the bottom line. Major
Okay, so
London was
I'll
gonna look
end
into
up by
that.
saying we're open to, I'm open to whatever ideas, and I'm willing to get on board, because obviously, listen, I got kids too, so I want to save them before anything like this happens. So I'm on board with what you're saying. I understand perfectly.
Okay,
So,
Mr. Obel, you want to address it?
Yeah, just I'm always leery about certain tactics.
You're freezing up, Mr. Obel.
Practices, because it doesn't have the outcome that been shown. Statistically, the outcome is not there.
Mr. Obel, can you turn your camera off for a second and then talk? Maybe that's why you're freezing up and it's hard to hear you. Okay, we see you moving now. Okay.
So I just want us to stay away from certain tactics that may not, the scare straight model that would not work for our community to its truest form, and use the model that we know that's more community friendly and promote better, healthy relationships across the board, not just for the child, but for the parent as well. So I'm happy that Fort Lauderdale is open to the opportunity. I know there's some parts of the meeting that Colonel Holmes and BSO have been great at doing as it relates to our approach, and I want to use that as a model moving forward, especially if Fort Lauderdale is open to that.
absolutely.
Colonel Holmes, would you all be willing to share your model, or is that proprietary?
No, absolutely. We're all in this together, because what affects one municipality affects us all. This is Broward County, so no problem at all. I reach out to, well, they can reach out to us, and once we get everything going smoothly, Mr. Obel, whatever direction you want to take it, we're all on board.
No, I got it.
Mr. Obel, can you send them a doodle and sort of start including them in your meeting so they'll know what
Okay.
Deerfield is doing?
Okay, we'll definitely do that as well.
Right. And Colonel Holmes, what you were saying?
Yeah, like I said, we have no objections. The more the better. We have no problems at all. Whatever direction Mr. Obel would like us to take it, we're on board. We pledge to support the program in whichever way we can. So we're never going to change from that. Okay, so we're here.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Let me ask this, Madam President, were you able to log in? Are you listening in?
I think we have a quorum too.
We don't have it if
No.
she's not she's
Okay.
driving.
Okay.
So I just wanted to find out, because if she was listening in, then we have a quorum. But
Okay.
I don't want to chance that and then somebody come back later. But if the minute if I had Mr. Walters on here, we'd have a full quorum. So we're just talking until I got Ella. That's number 7. I need 8.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll keep talking. We just want to come up with suggestions, and I'll certainly be open to talking to Secretary Hall about this. This is a problem, okay? And the legislature keeps expanding the role, and not every kid needs to come into contact with law enforcement. Not, you know, if Officer Friendly wants to come to the school and do a career day, that's fine. But just because, you know, mom doesn't want them left alone, I don't think that that is the point of putting them in a program that's funded by DJJ, and then they get sort of like lumped in with kids that they shouldn't be lumped in with. So that's the whole point of us trying to work out something. We are trying to work with DJJ, and you know, so but on that end, we can't fathom our children being put in computers for nothing else other than they're in a program. Is Mr. James, did he come in yet? Miss Phillips, have you seen Mr. James?
I have not. I think he was not excuse me, not able to get on.
Well, I've been checking. Everybody else has been able to get on. What kind of computer is he using?
That was in the start. I wasn't able to get on, so we kind of got the same one, but
You
I
know,
will check
look, I'm using the NAACP computer. And that's why you see President Ellison. So I don't see John James in, not even as an attendee.
Yeah, he's not on yet.
That means he's not trying to log on. So you tell Mr. James, Mr. Weeks was relying on him to give us something on the statistics, and but you know, I've been told that the statistics and data collection committee has not even met yet. So I'm going to ask that you pass on, and I'll call Mr. Weeks also, that it is of the utmost importance that that committee does meet. Now that Ms. Butterfield has given you the information that you requested, it is really important that that committee meet. All right, going back down to the civil citations, Ms. Gaynor, you started your report, and I kind of interrupted you because I wanted to make sure that I had time to ask specifics, and it looks like we're going to end early if we don't have a quorum. Any objection to that?
No
See
objection.
y'all jumping at the bit, so let's take care of this. And then Mr. Bush, I want to ask you a couple questions about the detention center, okay? All right, Ms. Gaynor, you said there were 18 referrals in August, and 7 female, 11 male, or did I transpose that?
That's correct.
Okay, and how many were Black? I was trying to write.
Okay, so there were 12 who were Black, 5 white, 1 Hispanic.
Okay,
And then in the month,
and then you were telling us that there were 2 parental declinations. They said we don't want our children in the program.
that's correct.
Can anything be done about that?
We have a process internally. If we receive a referral from law enforcement, that once we receive that referral, if the case manager has a parent saying they don't want to participate, then it's required to go to the supervisor, and the supervisor kind of a lot of times listen to them vent and express their concerns, and a lot of times we're able to encourage them to enroll. But also we give them the number to legal aid, because legal aid will also speak to them and give them the legal process if they don't enroll in civil citation, and kind of answer any questions they have. Typically what we see when we have a youth who parent is adamant that they don't want to participate, I think most of the time it's because there has been a history of some type of bullying, and the child reached a breaking point and they responded. So the family doesn't necessarily believe that civil citation or any other thing is justified at that point.
Well, as soon as I have met with Mr. Licata, because we do need him to give us a school board representative on this board. So I can't wait for that meeting to occur for me to get with him. All right. So in terms of missed opportunities. I'm sorry, was there a question, Mr. Obel?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, missed opportunities. You're gonna tell me what they were arrested for and in what cities.
So for missed opportunities in the report, there were a total of 23. However, 9 were not eligible due to our local policy. 8 were domestic violence and 1 was sexual in nature. So the other 14 came from various agencies. There were 5 loitering and prowling. Those came from VSO, Coconut Creek, Fort Lauderdale, and Plantation. We had 2 batteries. We had 4 petty thefts, a trespassing, resisting officer without violence, and then we had criminal mischief, 1. And then if you want me to go through each agency to say how many they have.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yes.
Broward Sheriff's
Colonel
Office.
Holmes says go slow when you get to BSO.
So they're first on the list, so that's easy. Broward Sheriff's had 1, and it was for loitering and prowling.
Okay, yeah, if I can get the details for that, and sorry for interrupting, but
No.
if I can receive the list every month, that would be very beneficial because they give me an opportunity ahead of time to go and do some research. Because I haven't received a list in months. So if I could get a copy, that would be very helpful. I appreciate it.
Yes, so you should receive it ahead of time. We just identified one little kink because the list was sent out to us, but to the wrong email address, so it didn't go out to the agencies. We apologize for that. We'll take care of that, and typically you'll only receive it if you have an actual missed opportunity. So we definitely try to get those out in advance. There was just a kink this month.
And Madam Chair, I will look into that one missed opportunity and get the background.
Y'all stop overusing 856 because the officers normally don't know what they're doing with these LMPs. So you know, thank God we got judges that read the case law.
All right. Thank you, though.
Okay. All right. So BSO had 1. I'll put them down for 1. All right. Next.
Okay. And just so you know, Colonel Holmes, it should be in your inbox in the next couple of minutes. So then we had Coconut Creek. Coconut Creek had they had 1, and that was at loitering and prowling. Fort Lauderdale Police Department had 2 loitering and prowling and 1 trespass.
Colonel Major London is slipping. Okay, 2 LMPs and 1 trespass.
That's correct.
Okay, is it Major Boyette or Colonel Boyette? Which one is it? I want to get your title right. Did he tell me what his rank was? Nonetheless, please let Major London know. He's always saying we got none. Okay, so
I'm sorry, I was having, I don't know what's happening with the computer, but this thing is
that's okay. Can you give me your rank so I'll make sure I'm referring to you correctly?
I'm a detective.
Okay, Detective Boyette, would you tell Major London that Fort Lauderdale had 2 loitering and prowlings and a trespass?
Okay.
All right, and that he needs to look into that. And we're certainly going to look into that.
Okay.
Because these kids got arrested when citations should have been issued.
Okay. I will ask about it.
All right then. All right, Ms. Mashala, can you catch these or look these over before your office files on them or something like that?
So, Judge, normally that's hopefully what we're doing, my case filers, but I'm in Colonel Holmes' position, and as Ms. Gaynor said, we used to get the report prior to the meeting, and I would try to look them up ahead of time so I could maybe give you some insight. So if we get back into that rotation, that'll be a lot more helpful. And then I might be able to actually answer some of these questions right now, now.
Right. I understand that. If we were in full board mode, I'd be, much more tense. But since this is kind of like our workshop, but Miss Gaynor explained that whoever sent out the missed opportunity report sent it to the wrong. Where does that come from, Miss Gaynor?
Well, it actually comes from the department, but I would like to say, I think that for Miss Marcella, the problem is that I don't believe that the new chief has been informed that he should send them out to the state attorney and the public defender like it was going out before. So that's why she haven't received it, because before they would receive a screenshot, which is different than what we use.
All right,
So
Mr. Bush, did you check with your predecessors what your obligations were to this board?
Madam Chair, I know that I know a lot of information has been shared with the board. I'm not quite sure what is, but if things have been shared in the past, I would have no problem, sending that information out if it is needed.
Ms. Gaynor, can you get with him after the meeting and tell him things that Chief Evans, and the acting board liaison who just left us, they picked up real quick what they needed, and I'm sorry that they didn't tell you, but we need those things. Okay.
And I will say for Mr. Bush, he's been really responsive with getting us what we need, because we need it differently, and we do appreciate that. And I will get with him to kind of give him an idea of the information that I'm privy to. I'll let him know what was coming from Miss Evans when she was chief.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's finish. And then I hear Mr. James is finally showing up to work, so we'll get him on in a minute. Keep him on, Ella. Just to tell him to stay on. All right, Fort Lauderdale, 2 LMPs and 1 trespass. All right, Ms. Gaynor, the floor is still yours.
Hollywood, the police department had 1 resisting without violence. Margate had a battery. Pembroke Pines had the
and that battery, just so I'm clear, is not domestic.
It's not. It's not. And the, Pembroke Pines had the criminal mischief. Plantation had a total of 5, 1 battery, 1 petty theft. 1 battery, 3 petty thefts, and 1 loitering and prowling. And then we have just 1 petty theft for Sunrise, for a total of 14.
Okay, it'd be helpful for the October meeting if Ms. Mashala at Mr. Weeks' office can get that information, and then we'll know what's going on, because this is quite an uptick from what we're used to hearing. And now that the school year is upon us, I don't want everybody that should be in school getting arrested for things that really should be given a citation. So, Mr. James, I have just appointed you and brought you over to the panelist side. Okay, there he is. And I think I've given you permission to speak too.
Yes, good afternoon, Judge. How are you?
All right. We missed you. I had nobody to fuss at, so welcome.
Fuss away, I'm here.
I tell you what, let me finish up with what we're doing, then I want to go back to the data collection and
not a problem.
Find out what's going on. So stand by. All right, Miss Gaynor, did we cover everything with the missed opportunities?
We covered the law enforcement agencies and the charges. The only thing I think I would like to mention is that for the gender, that it was half and half this month. So it was 7 and 7.
7 males, 7 females.
That's correct.
I think the males are influencing the women. No response. Okay, I'm just trying to wake y'all up. That's all. Okay. All right then, Ms. Gaynor, thank you. And I can't underscore how appreciative this board is to you for your assistance in helping us. And then you volunteered for the data collection committee. So I certainly appreciate that. But I did some research on you, Ms. Gaynor. That's right in your wheelhouse. You got a master's degree. So, we're going to rely and lean in on you a lot more. So thank you so very much.
Right,
So
thank you.
appreciate it. All right. Finally, John James came to work. Mr. James, can you give us a short report on the data collection?
So good afternoon, everyone. We finally was able to get all of the information that we was looking from the data collection. We got that information. We reviewed it. I had a chance to speak to Ms. Gaynor about it. Unfortunately, we wanted to speak with the entire committee before we made a recommendation. The numbers, we do have a couple recommendations on what we see thus far, but we wanted the committee to meet. So we're planning to see if we can plan a meeting within the next 30 days.
Can you make sure that that's done before the October 11th meeting? We really want to jump on this, especially because I was all over Miss Butterfield, and she came through the same day, okay, as our last meeting.
I don't know about all that. However, I do understand how you pushing that narrative. So not a problem. I take accountability for this part. But we do want to, I wanted the committee to meet. I don't want to make it to be a John James recommendation. So we were looking for the committee to meet so that way we can all look at it and have a recommendation to the entire board. But I do want to ask the
your
question,
recommendation has to go through Mr. Weeks. He's a board member. He gets to make those recommendations.
Absolutely. But I do understand that there was a meeting held statewide regarding data-driven decision-making by the secretary, and that there may be an initiative that was pushed through. I'm not certain. I was trying to get some information regarding it. I think what was told to me was that he was just simply trying to push civil citations throughout the entire state. I'm not sure if you were privy to any of that information regarding
I was out of town, and so I sent my link to Mr. Weeks to represent this board at that meeting.
Right, but I don't know if you know, but they were very selective as to if your name wasn't a name that was associated with the people that got the invite. I don't think that you were allowed into that meeting.
Oh, really?
If memory serves me correct. Yes, because I
mentioned that he was the vice chair of this board. So
yeah, I think if that original invitation didn't go to you, they didn't let you in, because I stood by for about 20 minutes waiting to get in that meeting myself. So, but I think there's some information regarding what DJJ may be looking to do statewide regarding the data as well. But we will still make a recommendation to this board, to this Circuit 17, as to what we think would be sufficient.
Right. See, my problem is with the notice. Sometimes I don't know if they think that, many of us are not employed. I'm busier now in retirement than I was when I was on the bench. And I travel a lot, not for pleasure, but for business. So, they can't give me a 2 days notice and think I can just drop everything and be at a meeting. So I try to get coverage for this board. There was not a lot of advance notice for that meeting. And that's why I could not attend. And I was on a plane. So, they tell you to turn off your electronic devices. That's what you do. Otherwise, I don't want to take a trip down the aisle, being dragged down the aisle. I don't want to do that. I had to get where I needed to go. So I was not given enough advance notice. And that's when I asked both Secretary Ellison and Mr. Weeks to find out which one could cover on that short notice. Mr. Weeks volunteered. Okay. And so I left it in his capable hands, but I'm very sad to hear that if he didn't get the original email, that he was not.
We stood by. He and I both stood by. I know I wasn't let in, and he wasn't let in as well. So neither one of us had a chance to participate in that meeting to see what the secretary maybe was conveying in the meeting. So, but
Mr. Bush, were you at that meeting? You are a liaison, so.
No, ma'am, I was not at that meeting.
Okay. I'll try to figure out and try to see if I can get some information.
Right, because that whatever he conveyed, I would safely assume that has a lot to do with the initiative that they were providing with the initiative that DJJ providing circuit-wide information, or statewide information from data, and then trying to come up with solutions or recommendations. So it seems as if they looked at it from a state level and they made a recommendation, then maybe that should be some information that they're sharing with us.
Okay. All right, Mr. Bush, let me ask you this. How many youth are presently detained in the detention center?
Madam Chair, as of this morning, it was 56 total youth in detention.
Did you say 66?
No, 56.
Okay.
56.
That's a
49
big jump from the summer. Okay, give me your data and then I'll I'll address that later. 56 in detention. How many females?
We had 8 female, 49 male, and out of those, 43 black male and 7 black female.
And the others, 43 and 7, that gives me 50. So,
So
what's the breakdown? White versus and Hispanic?
there were 6 white males.
All right. So what's going on with them in the detention center? Are they being educated? Are they being monitored for COVID because it is on the rise? Tell me what's going on.
I know the COVID protocol is going back to what it was, so I'm not quite sure if they are being monitored for COVID. If if it comes up, of course they are tested, and the correct protocol is put in place. As far as education, as you know, the secretary is big on education, so now they have. I know the detention center has a protocol now where they are limiting visitation for even the JPOs to ensure that youth receive the entire dosage of education every day. So as of even the JPOs cannot go in to see the kids until after a certain time to ensure they are receiving their educational services.
Now, what if they have an upcoming court case? I know Mr. James is big on this. Even if they're receiving education, that can't be interrupted to meet with their attorney.
Oh yes, if they have that type of contact with an attorney, of course they are. But as far as just those regular everyday visitations, seeing a kid just to see how he's doing, those type of things, they are limiting that contact to the afternoons till after school is finished.
All right. Any questions of Mr. Bush on the detention center? Colonel Holmes, I'm coming to you for the jail, so I'll be right there in a minute.
Mhm.
All right, no hands up. All right, Colonel Holmes, how many juveniles are in the Broward Sheriff's Office jails?
Yes, Madam Chair and other board members, we currently have a total of 12 that are housed at our Paul Ryan facility. 12 males, 0 females. We have 2 white males, 10 black males, numerous charges. All of them are receiving educational services at the time. None have any injuries. And actually for the month of August, there were no disciplinary reports issued for any of them. So they appeared to be behaving at this time.
What about COVID protocols?
0 COVID cases. Actually, in our entire jail facility, we're only dealing with 1 positive case, and that's at the main jail floor. That's an adult, but there are 0 juveniles.
That's excellent. I just don't understand. Maybe what happens when school starts? The jails get full, or is that just me? During the summer, we weren't hearing these numbers, but now it's like y'all became the gray bar hotels for the detention center and the sheriff's office, the Broward County jails. Mr. O'Bell, what can be done or addressed about this uptick? What do we need to do? Can anything be done?
That's a mouthful. I think you need a representative from the school board to be here so we can really dive into, ask some questions and try to get a proper answer for that. But meanwhile, while we don't have a representative, I guess we just gotta try to work the channels that we can.
Yeah. But trust me, I'm really going to push to meet with the new superintendent prior to our October 11th meeting date.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Madam President Ellison probably could have answered this. She was on here, but I think at one point we had a school board member representative that was on this board. And maybe he probably should reach out to a school board member representative until the superintendent.
Well, you know what we did, and that was Dr. Wanza, and we also had David, what's his name?
Watkins.
Watkins. And then when the acting superintendent, the interim, Dr. Smiley, came on, she removed Dr. Wanza and made Dr. Wanza her chief of staff. And they gave us a name, but that person was not senior staff. We don't want just warm bodies on this committee. We want people that can so to speak, on behalf of and make decisions that they've been given that authority to do so. So we went without, and then Ms. Cartwright left, Dr. Cartwright left, and now they were in the throes of hiring someone, and they hired Mr. Licata, and he has yet to appoint. And that's one of the reasons why President Ellison, who is the secretary of this board, and I have been trying to push to meet with the superintendent so that we can get him to make an appointment. We also have a person that's been appointed by the county commission that has never attended a meeting. So the only thing I can do is ask, because that's statutory. That's not something that Holmes made up. And if they don't attend, then I try to be gentle, and not militaristic, but my daddy was Army, and so he raised me to, and I can bark out a couple orders, but that's not the function. We just need people who are concerned about our children, who are willing to give 2 hours every month to talk about the problems that our children are confronted with. Keep in mind, I realize some children are bad, but they're bad for a reason. Some children just make mistakes. They don't think like adults do. Some adults think like children, but children don't necessarily think like adults. And that's one of the reasons why I had an interest in getting on this board. And I think that's what you all are here for too, to try to save, even if we just get 2 or 3, that's a 2 or 3 that could have been down the road on their way up to Rayford or Calhoun. So, that's the purpose of these boards, and then to advise the secretary as to what some things that we need to do. He doesn't have to take our advice. Okay, so I readily understand that, but we need to address things and then try to come up with solutions. I think that's what we're all here for. But I don't particularly care for this uptick in the number. I haven't heard the 50s in a long time for the detention center. So school starts and everybody is going to jail for some reason. I don't know. So when I meet with Mr. Licata, hopefully he'll give us some senior staff member that can come in and address this matter for the board. One of the reasons why Dr. Osgood is a community leader is because she's got background in the having been the chair of the school board, but she's also on K through 12 as part of one of her committees. So she was invited on as a community leader, not because the legislature has a hand in this, but she can go back and address legislation if we so recommend that be looked into. So everybody has a purpose on this board, and I appreciate you all giving your time. But it seems like the problem, we take 2 steps forward and then 5 steps back. So Mr. Obel, you're right. We need that school board person on here, because they can certainly address why everybody's going to jail as opposed to civil citation, or just call mama and them. Back in the day, if we were back acting up at school, the biggest threat was we were going to call your mother. If I ever heard those words, I knew that I was going to see the kingdom come. So, it's a different day. It's a different day. Any questions of Colonel Holmes for the number of children, juveniles in the Vine? Is that now where their house is the Vine facility?
Yes, Madam Chair, the Paul Ryan facility up in Pompano.
Okay. Any questions of Colonel Holmes? Detective Boyette, I'm going to ask this, even though Major London prides himself by telling me none, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you have any juveniles detained?
No, I do not. The only thing I get is the at times notifications of the kids that have gotten arrested the day prior, and whatever charges they got charged with. But I haven't gotten any recently. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're aware, if any of you are aware. We're actually working remotely right now because our police station is being rebuilt, and they found that the building was considered to be unstable, so everybody was rushed out of the building. So right now we're homeless. At least I am. Some people have offices. I haven't gotten one yet. So for that reason, there's a lot of things that are not being done right this minute until we have a system in place that's going to pick up where everybody left off before we were moved rapidly out of the building.
Yeah, it took a flood of
well, that was City Hall. It took us
biblical proportions. Yeah.
Well, for us, it took they started shaking the grounds, and the building started kind of moving a little too much.
All right. Any questions of Detective Boyette?
No, I do not. I like I said, I'm sitting in for Major London. I was completely unaware of the purpose of the meeting. So, I mean, there were some things that I said that probably not probably, I know for a fact now that didn't apply to what we were talking about here and what we're trying to accomplish with this meeting. But again, I'm willing to adapt and cooperate and help out with whatever I can. So just let me know. I sent the email, my email out to, I don't know who can see it, but I included Colonel Holmes and Abdel on it. So
Obel?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Obel.
So we can stay in touch and start communicating about the things that we can help out with.
Thank you, Detective. All right, we're down to the
Madam Chair.
Yes.
For the record, I emailed the detective the doodle, so he'll have it in his email and also provide.
Oh, great. Detective Boyette, did you hear that?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did.
All right.
I can't check right now because I'm on my computer, but I will as soon as I'm done.
Okay. All right.
And I can't say, Madam Chair, I've worked with Detective Boyette for many years. He is a man of his word. So
Okay.
he is a guy who will be in the midst of everything.
Excellent. Thank you for that resounding recommendation, and we'll utilize them if we can. We certainly will.
I'm here. Right. I mean it.
I don't have any legislative update for you because I always try to run things that I've heard by Mr. Weeks because he is the legislative chair for this board. So I'll get with him. I am making some recommendations for changes in statutes. You all have heard me mention that anyway. Not that it's going to pass and go through, but I just want to be on record that we are asking the legislative delegation to look into these things. So we didn't have a quorum, and I regret that, but we really had no voting items today. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this workshop unless there's any announcements. So I'll ask for that first. Any announcements? Nobody having anything? Gun buybacks?
I don't have any.
I just got Mr. John James. Please complete the doodle. John
What's the
James.
doodle, man? What's the doodle?
A doodle is
Doodle.
where you get an email that
Okay.
says circle the times that in the bubbles that you're available for a meeting.
Oh, hey man, I
should
thought
have-
that was spam mail and a prank, and I'm not familiar with those type of things. You know, we got a lot of
y'all get him
Come out
some
the
help.
we
courthouse,
got a lot
brother.
of
Come out the
hackers. We got a lot
courthouse.
of hackers trying to get into our system, so I'm trying to play it safe. I don't want to be fired.
Miss
Come-
Phillips, can
come-
you help him, please? Y'all
I am
have employee
trying.
assistance programs, so
I'm trying, Judge.
It was sent by Fabiola. So
look
please
for
complete
Fabiola,
that.
Mr. James.
I got you. I saw it. I'll take care of it.
Thank
Oh,
you, sir.
I thought it was spam. I'm gonna be honest with you.
all right. Well, Judge Roberto, how's the court system coming? I don't want to just have a meeting and not mention, the court system. How things going? Anything that this board needs to know about? Y'all doing wonderful things.
Anything outside of the Giants?
It's it's going good, Judge. I've gone live in my courtroom for about 3 months now, since June. I don't think the other judges have. I think it's working great, but that's just me.
Okay.
And other than that, everything is going well. I talked to Judge Williams at length, where was it, yesterday, and everything seems to be good.
Okay. All right, Ms. Brown, anything from court administration that we need to know about? Y'all got enough people working for you?
Well, we can use some more, Your Honor. Madam Chair, everything's going well. Recently, we started a new project over here at the court, helping some of the youth who are coming into court because of the number of domestic violence cases that are entering the court system. So Broward Behavioral Health Coalition funded Smith Community Mental Health to go into the homes and work with the families to complete integrated family safety plans, where every family who is in that unit, living in that household, and what we're finding, there are multiple families living in the household, and they're working with them, completing these integrated family safety plans and offering them services and referring them out for family counseling. So as we just started that in July, we have 15 slots open and we're over almost close to capacity now. So that's something new that we're doing at the court here, and it seems to be working well.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So, is this like voluntary? Do they have a choice or they don't? It's a part of the court system.
It's an agreed order, Madam Chair. So the defense attorney and all parties have to agree to participate in this integrated family safety plan.
Okay.
And they're agreeing, they're wanting services and the families are wanting help. But sometimes the parents are stressed and they're not always willing to accept the youth back in the home. And as you know, we are having an issue with respite services. So there are times when they're held in a detention center.
Maybe that's why we got 56 people in that detention center. So we got to come up with respite. Chief Evans was trying to look into that for us. Mr. Bush, can you help us on that end?
As a matter of fact, Madam Chair, I met with Ms. Oliver from Littman Shelter, and we're trying to get something in place. I know they only have limited beds, but I don't think there is any other shelter in Broward County. So we've been trying to put something in place to ensure that when those kids have been identified as a shelter placement, that there's no hiccups, that they can have everything together and go into that shelter without having to go through some type of other issues in order to be placed. So we're working at it.
Okay. All right. Colonel Holmes, anything BSO can announce? Anything y'all got going on that we need to be aware of?
I like I said, I just came back from vacation, so I've been off the radar for a bit. So, but there isn't anything major right now that I'm aware of. But I will catch up, and if there's something pertinent, I will have it for you next meeting, no doubt.
Okay. Thank you. Anything for the good of the order, Ms. Mashala? Let me ask about the state attorney's office. Anything that we need to be aware of? Any new implementations of things or services for children? I know you all have the diversion program and
Judge, I would like to let the board know and anybody who's listening that the next sealing and expungement workshop is October 5th at the EPAT Larkin Community Center in Pompano Beach from 3 to 7. So that'll be our next initiative in the community for the seal and expungement.
Have flyers been put out on that, Ms. Mashala?
Yes, Judge.
All right then. That's always a good thing, sealing and expunging. So
Yeah.
those of you who are attending and just viewing our meeting, if you know someone that you feel may be eligible to have their record sealed and or expunged, you might want to show up. That's October 5th at the EPAT Larkins Center. That's in Pompano Beach, Florida, right off of Atlantic and I-95. Go east, make the left on, what is that, 6th Street or 3rd? 6th or 3rd. You can't miss it. It's the first red light after you get off of 95. Make that left and the building is on your right. All right. All right, Mr. James, anything from the Office of the Public Defender or Ms. Phillips as the executive assistant, anything that we need to know?
No, Judge, we just still continue to work hard for the people. That's all we're doing.
Okay, Ms. Phillips?
Well, I do want to ask you a question. Were you invited to, I think there's a follow-up meeting for our prisoner pipe, well, what is it called? The Prison Pipeline Committee, I guess is what it's called.
Full to prison pipeline, that's correct.
There it is.
Actually, I'm glad Mr. James brought that up, Judge, because we touched on this earlier. Are you aware that there is a committee meeting this Monday from 4 to 5 at the at the school district building, Casey Wright building?
We need to get that
No, I didn't know, but somebody
if
sent me an email. I'll come if I can. Monday sounds good, 4 to 5.
I don't know if Mr. James can speak to it. I'm curious because I'm not really sure who they gathered
It's the
for this committee, but I know we were invited. Yeah.
It was the follow-up from the previous individuals that expressed interest in being a part of this committee. I know
I think Madam President already knows that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I want to make sure Ms. Ellison knows as well.
Okay. They were given an opportunity for the stakeholders, and that would include the NAACP, the state attorney's office, the public defender's office, and the school board, but I think it might have been a couple of others that were not involved, and that's what this meeting should be about.
Well, you know what? I'm going to send Madam President Ellison a text to find out if she knows, and if she's still at the convention, I'll certainly arrange my schedule to be in attendance. And that's at the Casey Wright building at 4 on Monday. That's the 18th. Okay. All right, 4 p.m. Casey Wright building. All right. I will certainly, it's now on my calendar also. So hopefully they'll let me in.
We'll make sure, Judge.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, as they say in my church, all hearts and minds are clear. Is there any other business that we can't really take up any board business, but we can certainly talk about announcements and things of that nature. And our attendees have been very quiet. Normally the chat is filled with comments and questions. So thank you all for attending our workshop. This is kind of rare at, well, actually, this is the second time that we've not had a quorum. So I need to check on that. We do important business, so it's important that everybody give us the 2 hours. Today, we're going to end early so you can go about your daily activities, but make sure you set aside this day. The next meeting is October 11th from 3 to 5 p.m. October 11th from 3 to 5 p.m. and it is a Zoom meeting. All right, thank you all. Have a great weekend. And Ella, happy birthday. Ella Phillips celebrated her birthday this week.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I would sing, but I'm reserving that for paying clients now. All right, you all have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.